This is Spellbreak. We're on PlayStation 4. This is a free-to-play battle royale experience with a magical fantasy edge to it. This is quite different and quite an interesting take on the battle royale genre. It features crossplay and cross-progression across accounts, and I've played it on Xbox and the Nintendo Switch prior, so I've been really giving it a whirl on all the different platforms, and I can make direct comparisons in regards to what it provides. Now, at the current time, it does not require PlayStation Plus. It is a game that is somewhat, I guess you could say, in a sense of early access to some degree, despite somewhat fully releasing on some platforms. I do expect it to change to a degree over time, so just keep that in mind. They also seem to be teasing the fact that there will be some sort of, kind of narrative-driven content to it, and we'll have to wait and see what's done in that regard. So the game can be played in squads, which is a group of 3 players. Aside from squads, they also have solos and duos. Solos and duos aren't currently available due to them just making it available for squads at launch in order for their servers, I guess, to handle things better. So like most Battle Royale games, you're going around collecting loot and getting pushed inwards into the giant circle. It features 42 player lobbies, and while that might not seem like a lot, it actually gets quite crazy at times, and I was pleasantly surprised with how well it was actually running on this particular platform, since it has been iffy. Because I went on the Switch version, doesn't run great there, whereas on the Xbox version, it runs really great, looks really good there, and this seems to be kind of a middle between them, because it runs very well, but yet the visual style, because we are on the base PS4 too for extra context, doesn't quite have the same graphical polish as the One X version does, and I didn't expect it to, but yeah, I think it does still look pretty good. You get a really good draw distance and a nice visual aesthetic to it, and I don't think my teammates are giving me a hand over here. Yep, they are doing their own thing. So with it being a magical based game, the idea is that you're sending spells out of these 2 gauntlets. You kind of pick your elemental ability at the start of the match, and then you pick a second elemental ability as you go around scavenging. And the cool thing with these abilities is that you can shoot, say, a fire, and then you can shoot a lightning blast, and it actually kind of does a comboing effect, especially with your more tiered abilities. So we got a firewall, and then we can combine that with the lightning, and it sort of merges together to do more damage. And if you get a bunch of teammates kind of blasting their abilities together, you get more of a dynamic attack and effect on other players. Another interesting element of the gameplay is in regards to the death. You become this orb, and your teammates can save you, or the enemy team could perhaps come and exile you, and that means you're eliminated from the match. It's just kind of a neat little extra to try and keep players engaged with the game, even though they might die. Because you can die really quickly in this one, it just takes a few seconds, a few abilities, and you're completely eliminated, and you have to deal with that. It's pretty cool looking. I mean, I really like the, again, the visual aesthetics, and then the combination of like all the abilities kind of getting unleashed, I think looks really cool. The fire, the lightning storms, the tornadoes. There's a lot of cool kind of effects that go on. And I like the tier style of how you collect loot, because it's very much, you're told whether or not you can upgrade from what you have, or if you want to swap to something better, or if you want to get some better armor, because you actually need to find armor in order to have that extra bit of, shielding on top of your health. And you're seeing how I kind of manage my health from the bottom right hand side there, because you collect little vials and potions for your health and your armor, which is kind of cool. You also have a rune ability, so you're kind of seeing me unleash that, and there's a few different types. There's like a howling one, which lets you see through walls and points out kind of enemies in the vicinity. There's one that lets you fly, there's one that teleports, there's all these different kinds of options for the runes, and you kind of find them. And again, that also has a similar scaling of, rarity and everything like that. Jeez. As you're noticing that there's different colors and rarities to the various items that you're finding while you're playing. And again, it's got very frantic, interesting gameplay. I quite enjoy it. I've been having a lot of fun on it on the last couple days doing all these different platforms. It's just a very different, neat sort of game, and while it might look, like I'm embracing the bug snacks here with this outfit, there are lots of different outfits, and this is just like a certain special one. I think our teammate, one teammate's dead, and the other one seems to be running away over here. Aside from that, it's also got a neat drop down. So when you start the game, you kind of pick from a selection of portals, and you can see what other portals have taken, and there's all these different points across this fairly decently sized map, which you can see pretty far into the distance. And each area's got its own little vibe to it. They note that after launch, they are going to perhaps change the design and the look of the world. So I think, again, going back to the story elements, that the idea is this Battle Royale experience will get players into the general concept of the game, and then from there they're going to be able to do, story-based content, assuming it kind of grows and finds its audience, which is kind of neat. And hopefully with it being available on all these different platforms, that, becomes the case. And I think you got a really good competitive option here on the PlayStation 4, just with it running well and looking decently solid and having that nice aesthetic kind of carry through. It's definitely a good iteration of this game. Oh no, not the tornado. Tornado is so deadly. And that's going to be the end of me there because of the tornado, but we'll play another match in order to show off more of this. So here we are dropping into another match. I'm assuming some more gameplay is generally helpful to get further context to what this provides. But even here you're seeing like the whole area being rendered out quite well. Just little bits of loading as you get inwards, and generally the performance just seems to really keep up even during the most harrowing of battles in this on the platform, so that's really good. The main options, we did talk about the various elemental abilities, but the main options that are present include Frostborn, the Conduit, Pyromancer, the Toxologist, and the Stone Shaper, and the Tempest. And we said the Toxologist. Yeah, we said the Toxologist. So yeah, that's where you're getting these different abilities. And it's really about kind of learning and figuring out what ability, sort of works for what you like, Do you want the lightning? Do you like the fire? You get one every time to start, and from there you can kind of, very likely find what you're looking for out in the battlefield in order to mix and match what sort of abilities you want. And then there's also the different tiers. You get to more like legendary and rare types of these gauntlets, and you get more and more powerful effects when you're out in the match. Or you might also be able to loot off of someone else that you fought. It's got like a basic waypoint system that you've been seeing here, and I think it generally does a good job of being something a little bit unique within the Battle Royale genre. You get so many different options. Most of them are shooters. It's nice to have something, feel completely different. You're still kind of like, blasting away at one another and looting. The core mechanics are, essentially the same, but it really does do its own little thing with that. And I think it's just quite fun to kind of roam around in. Where are you going? And it gets like really crazy with the more different types of players you have to deal with. Because some folks are really good at like kind of dashing away and blasting at one another. Because it can be a really like back and forth kind of experience, Things can go very well, and then things can go very bad quickly. And you can be blasted away in a second like I just was. But then again, you have the revive system, so you can get brought back really swiftly too if you get into the right situation where you're safe. And I think that mechanic in itself is kind of a neat way, and perhaps one of the better ways that I've seen the sort of revive system be deployed in a Battle Royale game, because it's kind of like, well, I kill somebody, why are they coming back? Or it's like you have to go to a station to get them back. Whereas this time, you're just literally kind of reviving their orb and their essence. It just makes a lot more sense to me, because you actually have to have, teammates nearby to give you a hand. You actually have to be working together in order to, be able to help each other, and I think that's kind of really neat. Legendary Fall Rune. That guy took the belt, and I really wanted that belt, because that's the armor essence. But yeah, it's just got some neat mechanics to it. A different style of gameplay that I actually find really fun and really engaging. And the loot itself is interesting to collect as well, because there's different pieces. You don't necessarily need them all, but the different abilities in that can really help you in some of the more fine-tuned moments of this. And you always gotta be careful of the ground too, because you know, little lingering particle effects, the team fire could be a problem. There's all these little mechanics to gameplay that can, you know, make a significant difference during the combat, and it just kind of flows in a very interesting back and forth way that I find fascinating, especially when you go up against more, you know, kind of skilled players that are going to be moving around and trying to get their abilities moving back and forth that are a little bit more effective at it. You're going to be in for some danger. And then there's also the element of, you know, the aspect of crossplay, whether or not you have that included, which is entirely up to you. And I think that aspect is kind of interesting because the different platforms it handles a little bit differently on each of them, and performance and stuff can make a big difference on this one, whether or not you're able to keep everything running smooth during those more intensive moments in the game. And I think that's kind of another essential pillar that might not be thought of for this one. I'm just trying to get some good loot. I really need to get the option to have my armor going. Oh, those tornadoes are so annoying, but yet strangely effective. Yeah, I gotta just get out of this area, because I have something I'm missing. That is kind of a big deal for combat. But yeah, I think it's just got like a really clean UI to it. It's got some fun and engaging gameplay, some neat cosmetic elements, which seem to be what the microtransactions are at this point. It's just kind of decorative. And again, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with that proposed, you know, chapter / story element of play. There's a lot of potential there for it to do something a little bit fun. And it looks like our teammates have been disrupted. Oh no, we've got to get over there and see if we can actually revive anyone before they are exiled. And it looks like our one guy was exiled, and I don't know if we'll get there in time to save the other. We'll see as we unleash all these abilities. We might have at least delayed the process. Oh. Well, anyways, that's Spellbreak